This message is brought to you by Apple Card. Apply for Apple Card today and start earning up to 3% daily cash back on everyday purchases. And that daily cash can even grow automatically when you open a high-yield savings account through Apple Card. What are you waiting for? Visit apple.co/card calculator today to see how much daily cash you can earn. Subject to credit approval. Savings available to Apple Card owners, subject to eligibility. Savings and Apple Card by Goldman Sachs Bank USA. Member FDIC. Terms and more at applecard.com.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. Not everyone is careful with your personal information, which might explain why there's a victim of identity theft every 5 seconds in the US. Fortunately, there's LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity. If your identity is stolen, a US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year by visiting lifelock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
This is Optimal Finance Daily, the single most important trait that defines personal finance success, by Robert Farrington of thecollegeinvestor.com. Personal accountability. Personal accountability is the most important trait that will define whether you're successful with your money or not. Sounds pretty simple, right? In fact, you're probably thinking to yourself right now that you should hit the back button and go listen to some other article. But the truth is, there's a lot more to personal accountability than meets the eye, and it's the single defining factor that will allow you to achieve personal finance success. What is accountability? In simple terms, accountability is simply taking responsibility for both your successes and failures. In a more specific sense, it means that you don't simply blame the circumstances, but rather your actions within the circumstances that you could have controlled. For example, you could simply say that you're in debt because you lost your job or because that's what everyone said you should do. However, that's not being accountable. Rather, a more accountable approach would be, I'm in debt because I didn't change my spending habits once I lost my income. Do you see the difference? In the first answer, the blame went to the circumstances, losing your job. However, in the more accountable answer, the blame went to the personal choice that was made to not change spending habits. While the circumstances may be more complex than that, going into debt is simple to avoid. Don't spend more than you earn. And the second answer is accountable to that. Being accountable also means not having excuses. There are so many excuses for everything that it just makes me sick sometimes. I'm in debt because. There is no because. Accountable people don't have excuses. They have solutions. Your millionaire neighbor is probably a very accountable person. How does accountability impact personal finance? So how does personal accountability impact personal finance? Very simply, you cannot expect to achieve personal finance success unless you're accountable to yourself and your finances. This means a variety of things in personal finance. Being honest about your spending. That is not hiding or justifying spending or not coming up with imaginary money. Planning for the unexpected. Not just settling for being unprepared for events that you know will happen, like job loss or car breakdowns. Accepting responsibility to choices made, like spending, debt, and lifestyle. It doesn't matter what the specific situation is. What does matter is how accountable you are to your own choices in the situation. And your choices have a direct impact on your finances. Buying a new car versus a used car? That choice will cost you thousands of dollars. Is it worth it? What are you sacrificing for that? In 1 year, are you going to say you can't afford something when in hindsight, if you hadn't bought the car, you'd be fine? Accountability is the biggest trait that will define your long-term financial success. The levels of personal accountability. Being 100% accountable 100% of the time is challenging. We all have weak moments when we must buy something or instead of saving, we take a vacation. It happens. That's why I want to outline these levels of personal accountability as a roadmap to helping you build up this trait so that you can improve your financial accountability and in turn, improve your personal finance success. Level 1, clear understanding. To do anything in personal finance, you have to have a clear understanding of your total financial situation. This means knowing what's in every bank account, on every credit card, how much debt you have, and where all your investments are. Once you have the balances, you also need to put together a full picture of your spending for 1 year. Then you can break that down monthly. There are a lot of systems to help with this. My favorite is Personal Capital. But it's essential and step 1 on your path to personal accountability. Without full knowledge of what you have and what you spend, you cannot make sound financial decisions. It's impossible. Everything you do is a guess unless you know. Level 2, clear planning and preparation. After you've laid out everything and have accepted your financial situation, you need to have a clear plan for the future. This doesn't have to be incredibly in-depth. It could be as simple as boosting your emergency fund to 6 months of expenses or paying off your debt. However, the more detailed and step-by-step your plan is, the more accountable and in turn more successful it will be. For example, you could want to boost your emergency fund to 6 months of expenses or say $6,000. For your plan, you want to break it down to something more achievable, maybe $500 per month for the next year. Then you could look at your balances and cash flow from level 1 and see where you could save $500 this month. Maybe not going to Starbucks every day? I'm not here to judge your lifestyle choices, but you need to be accountable to your cash flow, balances, and lifestyle choices. The end choice is yours. For example, I'd keep my coffee and sacrifice cable. Everyone's different. Level 3, understanding consequences. The next level of accountability is clearly understanding the consequences of your financial decisions. On the surface, it's realizing that if you don't save and go into debt, you'll be poor and unhappy. However, accountability requires understanding the consequences at every choice and every level. Just like the example mentioned in level 2, the choice is how you're going to get your emergency fund. Every action has a consequence, but to be accountable, you need to realize the biggest consequence of all. Not having an emergency fund could mean more debt, potential bankruptcy, and then not achieving other future goals like buying a house. However, consequences can also be positive. Building an emergency fund, for example, means that should you have unexpected car repairs, it doesn't impact you financially at all, and it's just a sucky day. After your car is fixed, life moves on as normal. Accountable people accept the consequences of their actions and think about them proactively. Level 4, follow-up and course correcting. The next level of personal accountability is follow-up and course correcting. You need to put systems into place so that you can follow up on your goals and course correct your financial plans as needed. Everyone does something frivolous from time to time, so how can you ensure that the one instance doesn't become the norm? A simple solution is to set up spending alerts with Personal Capital or other free financial money management software. By setting up alerts, you get notified if you spend too much in one category. Then you can look at your budget and see what may need to be shifted to get back on track. Unaccountable people simply ignore this and keep on going. Accountable people make decisions based on the consequences and get back to their plans. And level 5, if success doesn't come, go back to level 1. The bottom line is that if you're still not achieving personal financial success at this point, go back to level 1 and really see if you have a clear understanding of your personal finance situation. Something isn't right. If you've laid it all out there and then made a plan and been accountable to yourself in your plan, things should be working out. Typically, failure is the result of unaccountability. I didn't include that credit card, or I ignored my spending that day. Those are the types of behaviors that lead to failure, and your goal is personal finance success. You just listened to the post titled, "The Single Most Important Trait That Defines Personal Finance Success" by Robert Farrington of thecollegeinvestor.com. The origins of this podcast were once just a dream. That dream turned into the podcast and business you're listening to today. Starting your own business is a dream lots of us share, but too many of us let it remain just a dream. Don't hold yourself back thinking, what if I don't have the skills? What if I can't do it alone? Turn those what ifs into why nots with Shopify by your side. Shopify powers millions of businesses worldwide and handles 10% of all e-commerce in the US, from household names like Mattel to brands just getting started. Build campaigns that reach customers wherever they're scrolling. Plus, Shopify's expertise covers everything: inventory, shipping, returns, and beyond. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn those dreams into and give them the best shot at success with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/OFD. Go to shopify.com/OFD. Shopify.com/OFD. When investing your money starts to feel like a second job, Betterment steps in with a little work-life balance. It's the automated investing and savings app that handles the work so you don't have to. While they build and manage your portfolio, you build and manage your weekend plans. While they make it easy to invest for what matters, you just get to enjoy what matters. Their automated tools simplify the complex and put your money to work, optimizing day after day and again. So go ahead, take your time to rest and recharge. Because while your money doesn't need a work-life balance, you do. Make your money hustle with Betterment. Get started at Betterment.com. That's BETTERMENT.com. Investing involves risk. Performance not guaranteed. I think Robert made some great points about the importance of personal accountability. The way I hold myself personally accountable is through goal tracking. I set yearly and quarterly goals, and I track my progress on an obnoxious goal wall. I also time log on my Google Calendar. So in addition to future appointments and targets for how I want to use my time, I log how I actually used my time. This serves a number of purposes for me. And just like tracking spending, the biggest benefit is awareness. Tracking progress towards my goals and how I'm using my time helps me get a clearer picture of reality. I tend to exaggerate reality. So if I have a lazy day, that can quickly spiral into me thinking I'm chronically lazy, which makes me feel bad about myself. But the calendar is clear. It shows me a truer story about how I'm using my time. It also helps me celebrate my progress and motivates me to keep going. So for example, one of my goals this year is daily movement, a gentler phrase for exercise. And I have a calendar on my goal wall where I write down my movement for the day. After a few months of full calendars, I'm feeling more confident about the goal and I'm excited to keep going. Another thing that helps me is to have an accountability buddy, especially when it comes to self-directed work. I have a friend who sits with me for an hour every week, and we review all my projects, discuss priorities, and come up with my weekly targets on what tasks I'll get done. And I do the same for her. As I'm working through my list, I'll often text her during the week to celebrate the wins, and it makes self-employment feel a lot less lonely. And that will do it for today. Have a great day and start to your weekend. Thank you for listening. And I'll be back here reading to you tomorrow, where your optimal life awaits.